Wow, awesome landscape.
Well, yeah, 10 palm trees in a small front yard. It's amazing how many different varieties that you can get into an average, typical suburban front yard to make it super, super interesting. Why go with the same palm tree on every corner of the house and to the front along the driveway when you can do 10 different varieties? I don't mean just 10 palm trees, I mean 10 different varieties to really give you that tropical look. Come on, you guys, we're gonna take a quick tour. So the first showpiece tree is the Kentopsis. So if you guys are new to Florida, you may have not seen this palm. It is getting big in popularity right now. I'm seeing it more and more on different projects, different construction entrances because of the showpiece that it is. This is a beautiful palm, has a gorgeous upright frond. I mean, look at this frond compared to me. I mean, it is just so wide, so broad, so dynamic, and gives you such a vertical pop in the garden. This tree has a very small base, and that's what's great about it. It kind of gives you a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to this kind of tree because you get so much coverage, so much impact with a fairly small tree. It does grow super slow. So this tree will be like a foxtail palm. It will grow into about the 20 to 24 foot range, somewhere in that range, depending on your soil types. But it will do that at a very slow rate. So if you've got a spot that you don't want a tree to get too big or you have a long time for it to get some size to it, a Kentopsis is a great anchoring palm tree. You can use it as a centerpiece, you can use it as a corner anchor. Both of those are great ways. We've also used it over here, if you show everybody Bryce, right along the driveway. I mean, just look how gorgeous and vertical they look against your typical foxtail palm there. I love palm alleys. If you can, and it works well with your type of landscape, and you guys like the look of flanking your driveway with palms, ideal. I even like it more when you only do one side of the driveway that way. We needed some weight over on that side. We have a septic tank on the opposite side over there, so we needed to kind of stay nice and close to the driveway. But when looking at this house from the road, it is so lopsided. There's a lot of heavy weight over on this side of the yard and nothing really going on that side of the yard. So what we wanted to do was kind of create some visual weight by kind of creating a palm alley. We have 3 Kentopsis palms, nice and vertical, starting with small, then a tall foxtail, small Kentopsis, tall foxtail, small, well, you get the point, right? It really is going to do a nice job of giving them a really vertical layered feel, almost kind of giving you that grand entrance kind of style. So don't be afraid to mix them with foxtail palms, with royal palms, with anything that's vertical and upright, because they're never going to compete with that. They're never going to go the same size. They're really going to go above here with the foxtail, and the Kentopsis is going to be a different type of vertical palm. When it gets large, those 2 canopies themselves won't compete with each other because the Kentopsis frond is so different than the foxtail that it's going to be even more beautiful as it gets large. It's not going to be like a row, kind of a boring look for palm trees. It's always going to remain a vertical palm with a very fuzzy, fluffy foxtail kind of top, and then the Kentopsis is going to have that dynamic, that really like aggressive kind of frond like this. So no matter what size or what age they're going to be, they're always going to be stunners in the front. So the Kentopsis is the first palm on today's list. You guys know how much I love the foxtail palms. I just think that beefy big trunk on them is going to be stunners no matter where you have them. We have a single foxtail here, and we also, right behind you, Bryce, have a double foxtail in the front island there. So that is going to be gorgeous as it opens up and becomes a bigger, wider tree there. So as for our third palm on the list, Bryce, if you back up a little bit, then you'll get this whole big old mamma jamma in here. This is the triple Christmas palm. Now, we inherited this palm. It came with the landscaping, but it is going to look completely different with the new garden style. So it is obviously the centerpiece. I love the way Christmas palms offer you a lot of trunk so they don't really take up a lot of weight in the front of the house. This tree will stop growing just as it gets to the gutter line. So that's what's great. It's going to have nothing but long legs, and then right at the top of the roof line, right when you get to that gutter line and roof line, it's going to do that crowning shape. So it is going to be that tree that's going to stop growing exactly where it was supposed to stop growing, which is nice when they do what they're told. So as for our fourth palm today, now these guys are babies, so they're not as big as the other guys, but we have got the Rufus palms, the lady palms. These girls, you guys, look at these fronds on these things. I just love these multi-fingered fronds like this. They have a lot of movement in the garden. My client's gonna let them get around the 6-foot height, so they're gonna have kind of an anchor point on either side of this Christmas palm. And I really love that the Christmas palm allowed us to put some weighted palm trees on either side of it, because what happens when you have tall, long legs of a tree, you have all that opening, all of that airy, open feel, which allows you to put something chunky and fat on either sides to almost like frame it. And that's exactly what these two Rufus palms are going to do. Now, Rufus palms are going to come with a disclaimer. They are fabulous little chunky trees. They really are easy to stay compact. However, twice a year, they're going to want to pop up little pups to widen out to get a little bit bigger, because that's how they travel. You're going to want to come out and just kind of clip off the ones that you don't want. So any pups that might kind of come outside that little center bouquet of the Rufus palm, you're going to just want to clip that out. And you can either hit it with the shovel and pop it out, or you can clip it out. There is a little maintenance required on those, but it's so hard to find a perfect dwarfed palm tree to do kind of the job that they do. So I think that that's worth the effort. And for our fifth tree today is the Sylvester Palm. Oh my goodness, you guys, this Sylvester Palm, another tree we inherited, but fits super well into this landscape. Now, when I first got here, it was the biggest thing in the yard. It was like, wow, there was a bunch of smaller intermediate plants going on, but there was nothing to kind of give this some balance. And I think bringing in the other palms, bringing in the accents, bringing in the intermediate levels is going to offer it the perfect bit of balance. So we brought in some big bush plantings to go around it to kind of engulf the base of that trunk of that existing old tree, and then you're going to really get to show off that canopy. Now, Sylvester palms, they come with a bit of a disclaimer. They are absolutely gorgeous, but there is a disease going around, so you're going to want to get with a proper pest control company to treat it, you know, usually a couple times a year, and make sure that it stays nice and healthy. It is not one that I am currently planting, but it is a fan favorite of a lot of people's, just because of there's not many trees, there's not one tree that offers as much punch as a Sylvester palm. So I think that it's definitely worth mentioning it as one of our 10 palms here today, even though that we inherited it in the landscape. So we're going to work with that bad boy and get it to become a nestled part of this new landscaping here. All right, you guys, so for number 6 on our favorite palm list is the King Alexander. Some would say the king of palms. Maybe I say that because I love the King Alexander. Now, this guy was just planted a few days ago. We have had extraordinary heat. So all of these palms are showing a little bit of stress. And maybe that's something I should put in as a secondary or third disclaimer in today's video, is that if you guys can avoid planting in the month of July, early August, that is a tough time to keep things watered. We're trying our hardest to keep the plantings watered, but it's, you know, it's a tough time. So if you guys want to make it a little easier on yourselves, then hit late September, early October, ideal times to plant. The benefit of planting right now is when we get those rainstorms, it is just a masterpiece. It is exactly what these plants and trees will need. And I know Florida plants and trees are going to bounce back even after the stress of the heat. Kind of look past some of the browning of the fronds. This girl will throw out new fronds in a matter of days. She's really already got some new fronds coming in, and absolutely a stunner. You really get a beautiful tree when it comes to a King Alexander. They come in singles, doubles, triples, quads. My favorite of all is the double, because you can pretty much put it on any flat surface. I love putting them in front of windows just like this, because they have that gorgeous V shape and really kind of give you that dynamic frond. They have a super long frond as they get older. This tree is still somewhat young, but as this frond gets older, it's going to come over into this range, you guys. So it is going to be like a why welcome kind of palm at your front entrance. And you know, I just think there's such a clean palm. This is a self-cleaning palm, so when a new frond comes out, the canopy gets full, it'll drop its old fronds. So no work when it comes to the King Alexanders, which is nice. Absolutely love to use these palms in my design as kind of intermediate trees. They're not as big and beefy as a foxtail. You can actually take one of these here, and if there was room over on this corner, say these pavers weren't here and this was landscaping, you could put a foxtail right here to anchor this. A foxtail is going to outgrow the King Alexander. This is naturally going to be more of a petite tree. So this is almost like an assistant to the big foxtail palm and super assistant to the royal palm or a Sylvester palm. So you can really kind of use this palm as a medium type of palm in the landscape, because it's not too aggressive, but it does definitely show off with its frond canopy. All right, for our next palm grouping is going to be the Mule Palm. So this is a young Mule Palm, absolutely a perfect tree for this spot. Now a Mule Palm, for those of you guys, this may be a new palm for you, is a mishmash. It's a pairing of a Pindo Palm and a Queen Palm. So for those of you guys who are up north a bit into the Orlando, Jacksonville area, this palm is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous statement piece palm that works really well. This guy's fairly new. I'll get Bryce to pop in a picture of a Mule Palm fully matured so you can really see just how interesting those fronds are, how upright those fronds are. It grows super slow. So this would be like an intermediate tree or an island tree. So if you had somewhere out in the yard and you needed kind of like a centerpiece, kind of like a fountain popping up out of the middle of it, a Mule Palm is an ideal palm to use. You can bring it in at 7-gallon size, 15-gallon size. You can really work with it in any size, which is ideal for these guys as long as you have time for it to grow. It does take some time. It's a slow growing palm. You're maybe going to get a foot a year out of it at best, especially because a lot of times these palms are planted in the northern climates, and in the northern climates things grow just a tad bit slower than they grow on our Treasure Coast or Space Coast area. So this is a great palm to work with if you guys love that kind of dynamic upright frond look that kind of weeps down, that really kind of folds down. It's a great palm of choice. So try out the Mule Palm, but palm this, palm that. Here comes the coconut palm, a more common palm, a fun palm to work with, a palm you can kind of put just about anywhere, and that's where this guy is. My clients brought this in as a baby palm, and they're like, should we take it out? Should we leave it? Should we make a bed around it? And I'm like, I think she's working well with all the other palm choices, and considering that brings us to 10 palms in a front yard, absolutely, maybe add another coconut palm in here to pair it with. But I think they're gorgeous, they're fun, they're fast growing trees. This is a Malayan coconut palm, and it's really going to take off and kind of be a cool feature. It's already starting to bend. I'm hoping that it'll bend even more because that'll make it even more interesting, especially in this open area. They can pop out a little bed around it, put a little bit of the same kind of flowering material that we have in the other areas of the new landscapes, and voila, it looks like it belongs here. So if you guys are not familiar with the Malayan coconut versus some of the other coconut options, and you guys kind of want a palm that's going to grow a little bit slower, stay a little bit more compact, but produce coconuts just as fast, if not faster, then the Malayan might be the coconut palm for you. The trunk stays a little bit chunky, cut a little bit smaller. The canopy, obviously overall a little bit smaller, but it does really kind of hold their size. But overall, the Malayan is one of my favorites because it does take a good deal of time for it to get any significant size, and that's always what we're looking for in Florida. Anytime that we can find a palm tree that is going to grow a little bit slower, that's really going to kind of stay in our view line at a lower palm frond where you get all those gorgeous fronds at a smaller rate and a slower rate, then I think it is just a winner chicken dinner in my palm category. All right, you guys, so let's jump into the last two palms, but wait for the last one because that is not your typical palm in the garden, and I think it's becoming one of my favorite palms to work with. I say that all the time. All right, guys, so we are on to the next island right here in the front for our 9th palm tree in this grouping.
Wow, awesome landscape.
Look at Derek. This is Derek, our homeowner, who has been fabulous to work with. He has been a part of this from the very beginning, as well as his wife, Kate. However, Kate is ducking behind the camera. We won't turn the camera on. She says hello, you guys. I promise you, I'm gonna have you back for a full garden tour after everything gets in and everything gets established and really starts to perk up after this summer heat. And I promise you, you're gonna enjoy it just as much. Yeah. There we go. So for the next palm on the list is the Pygmy Date Palm. Now she's in a bit of a wardrobe change. She's still tied up because if you guys know of a Pygmy Date Palm, you know that they have these beautiful trunks, nice feathery fronds, but the worst manners when it comes to these thorns. These thorns are nobody's business. So my guys leave them tied up until all the mulching, all the trim work, everything is done around them. And then they cut these bad boys loose and let them fold over. They will be a nice, almost like a little bush palm, and they turn into a big kind of frond bush palm, and that's what I love about them. They stay compact, they grow fairly slow. They're definitely your understoried palm tree, so they're great to kind of give some under canopy height to your big palms like your foxtails, your coconuts, your queens, anything that's going to be big and more trunk than it is frond. These guys are going to offer you more frond and very little trunk, which is ideal, and I think they definitely have their place. I'm sorry that she's Just a little underdressed for this video today, but I knew you guys would understand, you're gardeners. But this is a great palm tree to use, and you can almost sneak them in just about anywhere, no matter how small your yard is. They grow to 10 to 12 foot. The trunks stay nice and chunky and broad and widen out. What's great about these palms, if you're looking for a little bit of buffering, they're an ideal palm to use. So if you need to use them in a straight line along the side of your house, they'll give you about 6 foot of frond coverage, and then you'll have about 3 or 4 foot at the bottom, depending on the size of your palm tree, of clear trunk. That's the perfect place to layer in front of them with some beautiful plants. And then you've got a beautiful plant grouping, and then a solid frond canopy. And that frond canopy is going to be great because you only trim them about 2 times a year, unlike a hedge where you have to trim and maintain that hedge consistently throughout the year. They're kind of more in that low maintenance, if you don't mind those little thorns there. So I definitely think they're a go-to palm for your Florida palm plantings. Now off to the last one. Those of you guys in the comments who are getting ready to scream at me and say this is not a palm, it is not a palm, but it is called a palm, and that's why it's part of our palm species today, because it is the faux palm, the fake palm, just the gorgeous tall vertical palm that should be classified as a palm just because of its utter toughness. This is the Dune Palm. This is very similar to the King Sago palm, but it's tougher. It resists the scale a heck of a lot more. Very, very low maintenance. You do just a little bit of trimming on these outside fronds 2 times a year, maybe 3 if you want to keep it real vertical. It grows about 3 foot taller than what you see here and then stops, which is ideal because it's the perfect centerpiece. Does this guy not look like a fountain? This just upright feel, this upright look. I love making these guys the centerpiece of a grouping. You have it flanked with your existing water oaks on one side and a foxtail palm on the other side. We needed something in the middle of this bed to offer a little bit of punch, a little bit of interest, and I think this Dune Palm is hitting all the notes that it needs to hit in this particular spot. So it has become one of my favorite palms. The mere fact that it outsurvived the dinosaurs and has been around that long, has been that tough, I think deserves any spot in the garden you're willing to give it, because they're just extraordinary and they offer a bit of a sculpture in the garden. And there's not many features like palms that offer something so close to the ground that give you such a vertical look. And these fronds, every time the wind blows, it just moves so beautifully. And I don't know, I don't think you can go wrong with that choice for one of your focal points. But that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this diverse grouping of palms. I hope that you learned something today and I was able to share with you some unique things that maybe you've not yet seen before that you can incorporate into your garden if this is a look that you like. If you guys like today's video, then you may love last week's video, which is a low maintenance front yard garden. Thank you guys so much. Take care. I will see you next weekend.